This is going to be a bit philosophical, but I feel this is important to talk about as it will help us understand how our thinking is biased towards a certain direction, at least in scientific terms. But this will apply to different aspects of life as well. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is this obsession of about finding the smallest particle. How did this idea even come about? Why and who invented this concept of trying to find this smallest particle? In ancient Greece, there was a person named Democritus. He was the first person, or at least as per written records, he is the first person to have talked about this concept of finding the smallest particle. He named it as atom, but the definition, first let me talk about the definition, what we meant by an atom. So when he said that, what he meant by atom is that according to him, this reality, this universe and this reality that we perceive is made out of fundamental particles which cannot be divided further, and that is what he named as atom. Of course, he could not see it because there weren't any microscopes back then, so they did not have the technology to observe those at the nanoscale and beyond. So that was his theory about finding this smallest particle, and it made intuitive sense because when you look at complex objects around you, suppose you see a house, what do you see? The house is not it is not a fundamental thing. It is built out of more fundamental things. For example, this house is made out of bricks. So for this house, bricks are the fundamental particles, or the fundamental building blocks of this house are bricks. So he applied this same analogy to everything, and he wanted to break down things even further until he found something that could not be broken down. And this thing which could not be broken down, he named it as atom. But that was his theory, and that was his intuition. Today what we call atom is the structure where there is a nucleus in the middle which consists of protons and neutrons and electrons revolving around it. And we called it atom most probably because scientists thought that this is the building block of reality, that there isn't anything more fundamental than this. And in some case, it is the building block of reality, because the structure of electrons revolving around a nucleus which consists of protons and neutrons, this is the smallest thing that can exist independently. But as far as being indivisible is concerned, atom is not the smallest particle, because as you know, protons are still made up of quarks, and now these quarks, which are, I think they are fermions, yes, quarks are fermions, and there are bosons, and there are, as far as I know, there are 38 elementary particles. So as per the standard model, those are the building blocks of nature. But in 1974, there were two scientists who theorized that there could be particles which are even more fundamental than quarks. This label is, and they refer to it as prions. But it's still a theoretical concept. There is no practical evidence for it that prions exist, but they have theorized. But who is to say that with more precise technology, even we might be able to discover prions too. And then who is to say that prions are the fundamental particle? What if even those prions are made up of something more fundamental? And on and on and on. Because the thing is that we all know that, at least whoever knows about quantum physics knows that at such small levels, things behave very differently as compared to the macroscopic world. So what Democritus did was that he applied the analogy of macroscopic world to the subatomic world, or to the microscopic world. But what if his intuition is wrong? What if things are not particles, which is which is what we can observe, that things like electrons behave both as particles and waves. But that is what scientists are figuring out right now. And that is why I think there is no point of trying to find out the smallest particle. The whole concept of string theory is that there are no particles, just vibrating strings. It's being driven by the idea of Democritus. And what if his idea is wrong? What if his intuition is wrong? So the main point I'm trying to make is that it's not about physics. It's not about elementary particles. It's about how someone's idea can influence you and push you towards a certain direction, and don't even bother to think about an alternative. Now, this was just one example, but if you look around you, you'll find many more examples that someone else's idea, someone who's been dead for hundreds or thousands of years, his or her idea is still influencing people and pushing whole civilizations towards a certain direction.